It's been a couple of weeks since I made a video, and I'm going to speak today to you about some things that are stated that are wrong, but you need to know. And I don't know how direct I'm going to be, because at this time, many of you can't handle direct because you have a certain belief system in place, and it makes it difficult when someone confronts that belief system. So we'll see as it goes how direct I am. But people say all the time, and you hear preachers say this, and they'll say, well, Satan knows the Bible better than you do. Yes and no. Satan doesn't know the Bible at all. He can quote scripture, but he doesn't know the Bible. He has no understanding of it. And he has no understanding of it because he doesn't have the Spirit of God, nor does he have the mind of Christ. So yes, he can quote it, and that, I hope you get a quick lesson out of that about people who can quote lots of scriptures. It doesn't mean it's not equal with they know the Bible. They may not have any understanding at all, because Satan doesn't. That's why you want the examples of this. That's why a deliverer is prophesied about, and he's born and grows up in Pharaoh's house, and Pharaoh kills lots of children, lots of male children under the age of 3, because he's trying to get the Messiah. Not the Messiah. We'll get to that in a little bit. He's trying to get the deliverer, and the deliverer is raised right in his household, because Satan doesn't understand Scripture. He can quote it, but his understanding is incredibly limited. That's why Jesus Christ, the Messiah, can be prophesied about and be born in a manger without an army around him. And King Herod, who at that time was I'm not even going to say it, but King Herod was trying to kill the future king, and so he killed all the young boys under the age of 3. He had them killed. Again, being able to quote scripture has nothing to do with knowing God, understanding God's plan or purpose or anything else. Now, let's move down from Satan to people, specifically religious people. The Apostle Paul, in his earlier time, was Saul. He was a Pharisee. He knew the scriptures backwards and forwards. He could quote the first 5 books of the Bible verbatim, plus many of the other things. As a Pharisee, you had to do that. And he was a Pharisee of Pharisees. His resume is pretty doggone impressive. Of course, he counts it as horse manure, cow manure, after he meets Christ, because he didn't know God and he didn't know Christ. Why? Because he didn't have the Spirit of God. He was religious out the wazoo, but he did not know God. He didn't understand God. He didn't understand God's ways. He didn't understand anything about God. He could quote the scriptures better than anybody on planet Earth today. But then what happened? He met the risen Christ. And the risen Christ gave him a message, a secret. He gave him the secret that he didn't give Peter, James, John, anybody else. It was the secret that was held within God for the entirety of time, because if Satan had known, if the leaders of the world had known this secret, they would not have crucified Christ. And the crucifixion of Christ was a central part of God's plan for the redemption of humanity. Okay? After that had happened, God could reveal the secret that he had already held, that he had always held inside of him. And that secret is the transcendent grace of God. And as I've said to you in many of these videos, that is the only message for today. It is the only message we should be talking about. But again, what does religion do? Oh, they throw some Paul in there, but they're mixing it all together. No. Nope. The message given to Paul is the message. And it is the only message that is appropriate for today. The finished work of Jesus Christ, the transcendent grace of God, that God had a plan for all the ages, and each age he is doing something to complete the plan. And ultimately, all mankind will be saved at the consummation of the ages. We're in an age right now, and that age is going to come to an end. And it's going to come to an end with the tribulation. And the only people on earth at the time of the start of the tribulation that will be gone are those people that God has granted the understanding and the belief, the faith to believe the message of Paul. They won't be mixing any of it. Now, the thing that's difficult for you is you're wowed by the preacher's degree from a seminary. You're wowed by his ability to quote scripture. You're wowed by his sincerity and dedication to it. And I understand that, because I was too. As I've said many times, for 38 years. I was part of that. And as I've said, I even acted like, or not acted like, I even described that as a game that they're very good at, that I was very good at. The Apostle Paul, he talks about his life as a Pharisee. And he talks about the fact that he gave his resume. It was better than everybody else's resume playing that game. but the game was not right. It's not the right game. There's only one message for today, and that's the secret that the risen Christ gave to the Apostle Paul. You cannot mix that with the other parts of the Bible. In fact, Paul says that we're not to know any man according to the flesh. Now, we still live in the flesh. The flesh still affects our lives because it's weak. But we're not to know man according to the flesh. Not even Jesus Christ. That's what he said. You're not even to know Jesus Christ according to the flesh. Well, what was the flesh? He was walking around. That's why, Christmas and Easter, you put Jesus back in that manger and you put him back on that cross. And yes, we get to him raised from the dead, but the raising from the dead is the message. What he accomplished by being raised from the dead, he took the old humanity to the cross. The old humanity. Everything that came about because of the first Adam, he took it to the cross. But religion, that's what religion does. They talk about the old humanity and how you've got to clean it up. No, it's been dealt with. Believe God. Hey, take God at his word and believe him. And then speak about how glorious he is, how glorious the plan is, how amazing what he accomplished, even in this evil system. Because as I've said before, you live in a system that was designed by Satan. And God has accomplished his plan in that system using the dirt, the dust of the ground. That's God. He's bigger than you think he is, and he's better than you think he is, and he's accomplished more than you think he could. And it's a glorious story. And that's what we should be talking about. But no, you go to church and talk about how much you need to clean up your flesh so that you can be pleasing to God. I keep going back to this, and I always go back to this. You don't worship God as God. You think you need to do things. No, God did it. God did it all. And I want you to come into the understanding of that. And you will come into it whenever God grants it to you. But, as Paul also said, blessed are the feet of those who bring the good news. Yes, it's going to be God who gives you the faith to understand that, to understand the things I'm telling you. It'll be God that does it. It won't be my words or anything like that. But it will be this truth. It will be this truth of the transcendent grace of God. That God accomplished his purposes, has always accomplished his purposes, and that he's doing so through the ages. And I don't care how many Bible verses you can quote. If that's not what you're preaching and teaching, you're in the wrong boat. the transcendent grace of God, and the finished work of Jesus Christ, who accomplished it all. I love you all.